Hello again, everyone. Ambassador Terry with another Year Six What Are You Doing interview. And my guest this week is Petrina Montrose. Welcome, Petrina.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Ambassador Terry. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to enjoy this because she's doing some cool stuff. So here comes the famous question. Petrina Montrose, what are you doing?
Thank you. So I was starting to study as a forensic psychologist, but my background is a little bit more intricate than that. I was sex trafficked as a minor, um, into prostitution when I was very young. And the role that I play now is a survivor leader. So I look about survivor leadership, but ethical survivor leadership within the context of forensic psychology. So, from my experience, being sex trafficked was caused by a lack of choice. And disproportionately, people that are involved in prostitution are socially disadvantaged. So, it is often the last resort for those with the fewest options or none at all. Now, I attended a lot of schools. I had no formal education at all. And I also became a mother of six children, and one of my children is severely autistic, and it was challenging. So reclaiming an identity, the arduous journey of reclaiming a sense of self out of the my history, my life, and a mother was not easy. But I spent 14 years re-educating myself from zero to a degree, to a master's, and now a PhD. So I reclaimed my purpose outside of being a mother and a former sex trafficking victim, and I started the journey of becoming a forensic psychologist. Now, I then went on to do some mentoring with high risk offenders within the criminal justice system, which were primarily sex offenders. And I looked at how I could support and help in their rehabilitation with their responsible officers, and how I could integrate people that had convictions that they were either spent or unspent and back into society. And many individuals that I worked with, they either they felt they were criminalized or they were pathologized, but mostly they were portrayed by society as either to be born bad or they were made bad. So there was a lot of prejudicial thinking and that I saw that played out in the dynamics of very well intended professionals. And this was an area that I then became very passionate about and I wished to pursue further. And this led me to the realization before I ever came out as a survivor. I never understood that I'd actually been sex trafficked. It was only when I was studying and doing my research that I started to learn about the Palmyra Protocol. And it's basically it's by the United Nations, and I'm sure you probably know because I know it's about trafficking in persons shall mean the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of a person by means of the threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, of abduction, fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability. And basically, the exploitation shall include a minimum of the exploitation of the prostitution of others. But under the age of 18, it is illegal. And so we have the issues of consent, which is a very polarized argument with prostitution. You have the liberalist approach that argue for the right and freedom to have laws that make prostitution legal, and then we have the abolitionist movement that want to decriminalize. But any child that is sold under the age of 18 is illegal. So a victim's consent to exploitation is irrelevant if they are sold under the age of 18. So that made me realize that I was actually trafficked. And that was quite a wake-up call. And that led me to understand and to move away from the forensic settings and move and to come out as a survivor, actually, and to be very honest. And that's because I felt when I looked at the statistics and I looked at them in depth, women and girls are often silenced from seeking support due to a widespread sense of shame, which underpins all psychopathology, as well as the stigmatization and the fear of social rejection that hinder their ability to exercise their fundamental rights to seek protection and justice. So silencing results from an active language, where language enables some kinds of expression and turns off others. I hope that kind of makes sense. But we need to understand how we are silenced from discussing such violence or sexual exploitation, and in order to break the silence. And the argument is straightforward. The more noise we make about this issue, the more likely we are to notice something happening regarding it, and therefore resisting our tendency to remain silent is crucial.
So, ladies and gentlemen, was that fantastic or what? Thank you so much, Petrina, for coming in. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get some comments going here for Petrina and I. We'll be watching. Thank you again. Bye for now.